Hello, you guys. It is time to talk about all the books that I read in May and what a month it was. I did get a lot of reading done. I did finish my TBR. However, how good of quality were the books? That is up for debate. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in May, and like I said in the intro, what a month it was. I had some good reads, a lot of not so good reads. If you watched my vlog that was ending in May, I think it comes out before this video, you would know that I did in fact finish my May TBR, but was it worth it? That is up for debate. So we're gonna go over all the books, and a lot of them I will be unhauling, which will be my next video that I am filming. So make sure that you are following me on Pango Books if you are not already, so then that way you can be notified whenever I have books up there for you to purchase. The first book that I did complete in May is The Thrashers by Julie Soto. I did have an audio arc of this, so I got to it very quickly. This book came out at the beginning of May. It is a YA thriller slash mystery where these kids are in high school and they are part of the Thrashers. Because Zach Thrasher is the leader of this group. He's rich, he has a lot of sway with other people in the school, gets away with basically anything. And if you are part of his friend group, you are protected. All the kids think that you are the most popular. However, kids over time that have tried to be part of the Thrashers group or become friends with them, they always say that you get thrashed, which means you are bullied, you're thrown out. Basically, your whole high school life is not the same. And I do believe we start out with a suicide. A girl took her life, and we are trying to find out what happened. And as we are going through this narrative documentary style book, you are in the head of one of the girls. Towards the end, you think that she is more unreliable than she is truthful. Things don't make sense along the way. You start questioning her motives. You start questioning who she is. It really takes you for a ride. So check trigger warnings before you go into this. But this was my first time reading from Julie Soto, and I'm not upset about it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. It really kept me gripped. I think that the ending was a lot anticlimactic, more than I thought it would be. I really loved the way that the story was woven, how she would always talk about the police talking to her or other faculty members, kids part of the Thrashers group. It just all really wove a great scene, but towards the end of it, you're like, okay, how much was true? How much wasn't true? I really enjoyed this. So I definitely think that if you love thriller mysteries and you like the YA high school scene, you might actually end up really enjoying this book. I am going to talk about the next 4 books as one because it was my Fable book club pick, which I hope no one else read this because it was absolutely terrible. But I ended up listening to this book and I continued on with the series, and I could not tell you why. It wasn't good. It wasn't written well. I hated every minute of it, but I needed to know how the story was ending. Plus, I've had all 4 of these books on my shelves for at least 5 years, so I wanted to get to them, but I will be unhauling every single one of them. And that is the Shadow series by T.M. Hart. I don't even know if these are in order, but you have Shadow's Kiss, which these are the original covers. You have Shadow's Fall, which I think is the final book. You have Shadow's Dew, which I think might be the 3rd book possibly. And then Shadow's Touch, which is the 2nd book. This series, it was only Shadow's Kiss that was on the Fabled book club pick, but this series is not good. It is a fantasy romance series where the first book itself, which is Shadow's Kiss, starts off and it's like a prequel novella. You have absolutely no idea what's going on. There's the amnesia trope. She's being pulled in 15 different directions. These people are talking to her as if she just should know who they are and that she should know exactly what they're saying and what is going on and who she is, and she has no idea what is going on. She doesn't know who to trust. She doesn't know anything. They're basically grabbing her and they're like, oh, you know, you need to do this, or we need to go here, we need to go to this banquet. And at the end, we are introduced to this shadow figure, and he is supposed to be this evil person in this realm that is casting all of this shadowy plague and causing a lot of problems and stuff in this realm. And all of a sudden, whenever the Shadow Man grabs her, kind of pins her against the wall, she remembers everything. And that is how the first book ends. It was a wild mess, you guys. I can't even formulate words on how this series was. The second, third, and fourth book was all about their romance. The second book was kind of taking you back in time about how she was betrothed to this guy and had to go live with him. She ended up falling in love with him. He didn't want anything to do with her. We find out who the shadow guy is. Kind of was a shock to me, but whenever you are back in time, you kind of can put pieces together on who he is to her. And then the third and fourth book is all about them trying to be together. She's trying to save him, trying to save the realm, trying to show that he is not this evil guy like everyone thinks he is. And the ending was very anticlimactic. Like everything just went together so well. There was no pushback, no big fight. So I say 2 stars for the entire series. I did give 3 stars to Shadow's Kiss and Shadow's Touch, which is book 1 and 2 in this series, only because it kept me intrigued enough to continue. But then whenever Shadow's Due and Shadow's Fall came, they both were 2 stars. I would definitely say 2 stars all around. This series needs a lot of editing done to it, needs a lot of work, and possibly even a plot builder that gets in there to kind of help put pieces together, make it flow a little bit better. I don't like to bash an author's work because they put their heart and soul into this, but I feel like it needs to go through several rounds of editing and world building help before it's re-released, and it would make it so much better because the concept was there. I then went and read on my Kindle and physically The Poisoner by Ivy Ophelia. I gave this book 4 stars. I absolutely love it. I cannot wait for the next book to come out. This is Victorian era England. It has Gothic vibes, Regency vibes. It has so many elements that I loved in here. I'm usually not a Victorian era person, but I loved it nonetheless. You are following our girl who is the poisoner. She has taken over her family's herbal shop because her father had passed away. She is also in college or had just graduated college. She creates poisons on the side for the unsavory men. She ends up giving a lot of her poisons to the madam at the brothel. So any of the men that come in that are very unsavory, they do some really bad things, they end up getting the poisons. Well, all of a sudden her poisons stop working. She ends up going to her friend's party where she goes to the restroom and sees another girl sitting on a guy's lap. She doesn't know what they're doing. They're kind of hidden, but he bites her neck and she is freaked out. She's like, he's a creature. I don't want nothing to do with him. She goes back home and this creature stalks her, and we don't know who this creature is or what he is. But he decides, because you get his POV, he decides that he is going to stalk her and kill her. But they keep playing this cat and mouse game and things do not turn out the way that the creature thought it was going to turn out. I loved this. The Gothic vibes were immaculate. The writing was so good. I would read 100 pages and not even know it. This book is close to 500 pages. I loved every minute of it. I had some issues at the beginning because I was like, why is he so obsessed with her? Why does he want her dead? Why does she make the choices that she makes? Like sometimes I was like, girl, you're making these horrible decisions. But in the end, I loved it. I cannot wait for the next book. I don't even know when the next book will be coming out. This came out a year ago, so I'm thinking that hopefully soon we'll be getting a next book because I want to be back with my poisoner and creature. I need to be. The next 3 books I'm going to briefly touch on because I did do a whole reading vlog where I read through all 3 of them, and it is my reread of the Zodiac Queen series by Gemma James. I reread season 1, 2, and 3, which consists of all 9 books currently published in the Zodiac Queen series. I love this. They are all 100-page novellas about each man of the Zodiac. Our girl has to go to Zodiac Island. She is basically given to them. She is a princess of another kingdom, and in this contract she has to go to Zodiac Island, spend a month with every man from the Zodiac, and then at the end of those 12 months they will hold an auction where they will bid to be her husband. And at the end of the auction, whoever wins basically gets to take her virginity in front of all of the other men. And then as the marriage continues, she has to spend 1 day every month with that man of the zodiac once her virtue is taken, basically, and she is married. I was like, who, our girl is in for it. She is not wanting this at all. But as the stories go on, she does fall in love with 2 of the men. One of them ends up becoming the one that she wants to be with for the rest of her life, but he needs to win the auction, and there are people against him, against her. Every time that she spends a new month with a man, they can basically do whatever they want to her. She has no say. They control every aspect of her, down to what she eats, down to what she wears. It is a weird societal custom that they have, and it's all because of a curse that they think that they have there at Zodiac Island. So some of the men are nice. Some of the men are not so nice. There are different motives at play. There are things in the background going on that our girl learns as time goes on. The ending of book 9 had me shook. I'm ready for Capricorn to come out. Hopefully, whenever you are watching this video, I have already read Capricorn, because I am desperately waiting for Gemma James to send it to me. I am ready to continue on with these series, and I'm hoping that the other 2 books will quickly follow afterwards. The other book that I did read in that reading vlog was Embers in the Snow by Anna Carvin. This is the Moonlight book box edition. I will be unhauling this. I gave it 2 stars. If you watched that vlog, this started out as like a 4-star vibe, and it went downhill from there. This was very insta-lusty. This was very all about the romance, not about the plot. Basically, our girl is raised as a baron's daughter, not high in the royalty societal norms. She is at the bottom of the totem pole, but her father ends up securing a betrothal with the crown prince, who has fled to this northern kingdom. He has a reputation of being brutal, not forgiving at all. So she does not want to go. She is told this in the first chapter. She ends up going because she, obeys her father, because in this world, the patriarch is the one that controls the entire house. As she travels there, her caravan is attacked by some creatures. She ends up surviving. As she is making her way to his castle, his manor, as you will, she finds out that other people were following her, and she is trying to save them. She runs into a creature who ends up feeding from her neck as a vampire. She did not give consent for that, but he at least saved the people that were following her. And as she gets to this manor, she is hustled around by the butler and the staff. And after several days go by, she's like, where is Corvan Duthris? I want to meet him. And as her father shows up, she ends up meeting Corvan. She's already known who Corvan is, and the story goes from there. I loved it at the beginning. I was like, these vibes are immaculate. The world building was great at the beginning. The romance, the angst and everything was just top tier. But after that happened, whenever they started spending more time together, it was very insta-lusty, very, I'm gonna give in to you. There is no banter. There was no, I don't want to be with you. You're a monster. She finds out what he is, and she's just okay with that. I feel like the author tried to make this a standalone and cram everything in a certain amount of pages, and I don't feel like it really did the story justice at all. I commend a standalone for sure. I love that, but I feel like it could have been fleshed out more. I feel like the very beginning was given a lot of detail and a lot of thought into it, and then as the story went on, it was more like being rushed, like the author was just wanting to get it out kind of thing. I feel like it could go through and have some more expansion on different topics or different scenes that had happened, and don't make it as insta-lusty. I would love it if there was just a little bit more banter and a little bit more angst before we just jumped right into things. The next one that I read was Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole, which is book 1 in the Kindred's Curse saga. This is a reread for me. It was my Patreon pick. Vanessa had picked it for us, and I am so happy that I reread this. If you watched my vlog of getting through this, I was immersion reading it, and it was the best way to do it. I had never heard of it before. I had seen other booktubers do this, but I had never done it myself. Reading it and listening to it at the same time really brought the story full circle for me. You're following Diem, who is raised as a mortal in the mortal city in this realm of Lumnos, I believe is where they live. And in this realm, you have mortals and Descended are from gods, and they all have different shades of blue eyes. Mortals have brown. Diem is a mortal. Her father is the commander, or a retired commander general of the Descended army. Her mother is a healer who works at the castle. Diem had a sickness when she was younger, and it caused the brown eyes, like the color of the eyes, to go away, and she has like gray ashen eyes, I believe. Diem's mother ends up going missing. She ends up taking up her mother's mantle as the castle healer because she wants to make sure her brother stays in the Descended school and gets the proper education that he needs. As things unfold and she saves a Descended child, she gets roped into a rebellion. She finds out things from the Descended that she didn't believe was possible. She starts questioning her morals and what she has been told her entire life. And the ending to this, oh my goodness, you guys, I needed book 2 immediately, and I'm so happy we're getting to it in June because I need to know what happens to Diem. I am really loving the very slow burn that we are starting in this. I need more from here. I can definitely tell that Penn Cole put a lot of thought and a lot of work into these books. I heard Glow of the Everflame is even better. It's definitely double the size of Spark. The world building is so good. It is very unique in a fantasy romance world. You have the same tropes. You have the same notches that you hit along the way. But the world and the way that the characters act and the different things just seems very fresh and unique. And I loved that about this. 4 stars, ready to continue on with the next one. I then had read My Gently Raised Beast Volume 2, and I needed a palette cleanser after Spark. This book has the most beautiful graphics. Volume 1 is about our girl. She is a young person who is basically found on the streets. She doesn't have a family or anything. She was raised by some innkeepers who were not nice to her. Come to find out, she is like this long lost princess from a previous relationship that the king had had. So she is taken to the castle and raised alongside her half siblings who are twins. And she ends up finding a cat, which is more like a leopard or a panther, and they're young in the first one. She finds out that he can shapeshift into a boy, so they become friends. And then finally, volume 2, they are aged up. They're like 18, 19 years old. He goes through kind of a coming of age party ceremony. She thinks that he loves her handmaid, and I think it's a romance between them two, but it is so wholesome and so good. I am so happy to finally read something that isn't dark and gritty and all of these things. There are some sad elements to this story, especially what our girl had went through when she was younger, but it's not triggery. It's not dark. It has a light, wholesome fluff to it. So I'm so excited that I got to volume 2. It is hard to talk about graphic novels, as it's better to just read them yourself. So if you want to read about a long lost princess who has a panther for a friend, possibly her love interest in the future, definitely go check out My Gently Raised Beast. I'm ready to continue on with this series. Before we get on to the last 3 books, let's talk about the DNF that I had, which is Dark City Omega by Elizabeth Stevens. I could not. I made it like 120, 130 pages in. I don't even remember where I left off. This book I could not do. It has wolf shifters in here. I have read a few wolf shifter romances that haven't bothered me. Whenever they go in depth about rutting and mating and shifting into animal form, and I could not. Going into heat, I could not deal with that. The only things that I do know about this, everyone is raised as betas in this world, and as at a certain point of age, somewhere in their later teens, they can stay as betas. They emerge as alphas. They emerge as berserkers, which are rare, which is like the highest of the food chain, I guess. And then some can emerge as omegas. And omegas in this world, I guess, are told that they have to be the slaves to the alphas or the berserkers and basically held up in captivity and bred basically. And our girl ends up being an Omega, and she's on the run for 6 weeks. She ends up getting caught by a berserker, and the berserker thinks that he is healing her when in fact he's actually killing her. So we don't know what's going on with that. And by the time it got to the spicy part of it, where he's like, I need to be there for my Omega, I know she needs it, blah blah blah, all of this stuff. And during the spicy scenes, they're talking about, don't you dare go into heat on me and stuff. I was just like, I'm out. I cannot. If you like wolf shifter romances, you might end up liking this. I do not, so I had to DNF. I'm so sad because this is the probably smut edition, and it has all black pages. I will be getting rid of this on my Pango Books account. So if you did not watch my last vlog of can I finish my May TBR in time, then you don't know what these 3 books are. But if you did, I'm still going to keep it brief because I did go in depth with them on that. The first book that I had read was Beautiful Villain by Rebecca Kinney. I gave this book 2 stars. This is a modernized Jay Gatsby retelling. It has a fantastical element to it. Jay Gatsby is like an immortal, and that is how he's making all of his money. He is basically selling the immortality pill, if you will. And Daisy is someone that I guess they were best friends whenever they were younger, and then her family got rich out of nowhere, and so she moved to a different part of North Carolina, and Jay never kept in touch with her, so she never knew what happened. She ends up in a relationship with a guy, and for 7 years is basically treated horrible. She's in love with him, but looking back, you can see that he was very manipulative and abusive to her, so definitely check trigger warnings. She meets back up with Jay Gatsby. He is a multi-billionaire now, throws these lavish parties. It gives you the 1920s roaring flapper girl time vibes, but in the 2020s, so it's modernized. It gives you all of the Gatsby feel if you did like the F. Scott Fitzgerald book of Gatsby. I loved Gatsby. I loved reading the story about it. It was a tragic story, but one of the classics that I do love. This was not it. This was not it. It has all of the Gatsby vibes to it. It has all the Gatsby notes, and it hits all of the specific things that happened in Gatsby just in a different way in here. The writing, it was so choppy. It was like, oh, Jay never kept in touch with me, so I don't know if I can trust him. And then like the next page, she's like, I'm so in love with Jay, I can never be with another guy. And I'm like, wait, how did we get here? And then she's talking about how she loved Jay whenever he was younger, and I'm like, I don't see that. Where was that at? I was confused. Just not it. This was not the Gatsby retelling that I thought I was going to get. So I do have a bookish box edition of this, and this is the just regular sprayed edges, and it does have kind of a digital signature in it, and it was just like the normal version you could get at the store. I will be getting rid of both. I was so disappointed in this book. The next book was a book that my husband had bought for me recently. I hadn't gotten to it, and so I was so happy that the jar picked it for me this month. And that is Draw Down the Moon by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. Finally, some redemption in a lot of the books that were mediocre for me this month. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I go more in depth about it in that vlog. This mother-daughter writing duo hit the mark again. This is more upper YA, leaning on a new adult time, whereas their previous series that they had made was more YA. So I was pretty happy that it was kind of aged up a little bit. But you are following our girl Ren, who grows up in this world as a mundane. She knows that there is magic. She has 2 best friends, Lee and Sam, and both of them are moonstruck. They're going to be going to Moon Isle to be a part of this academy for a summer to learn about their magic and get their magic to progress. She is sad about that because she's not going to be around her friends. On her 18th birthday, the day before Lee is supposed to leave, she is moonstruck, and now she is whisked into this world that she didn't learn anything about but knew about. She goes to Moon Isle. We find out that Lee's older sister Maya was there 2 years prior, being killed in some sort of way. Her and Lee are inseparable, as her and Sam are. There is a romance brewing between Ren and Lee for years, and you get dual POVs from Lee and Ren, and Lee assumes that she's not interested whenever she really is. But there's a mystery going on about who Rin is, how is she moonstruck, what kind of magic does she have, and the story goes from there. The vibes were great. This was so refreshing. It is upper YA, like I said, not spicy at all. There are some talks about things, but nothing else. And I really enjoyed it. So if you do want something that has magic and witches and is upper YA but not overtly spicy, maybe try out Draw Down the Moon. I didn't realize, but book 2 just came out like a month ago, month and a half, and I might be picking that up. And the final book that I read in May, the final book, was Bully by Penelope Douglas. I gave this book 3 stars. It's just okay. It's nothing that's going to change your world or make you kick your feet giddy with excitement. It is a very dark romance. It deals with high school bullying and very dark bullying at that. Our girl Tate lives next to Jared, and whenever she moved to this side of town after her mother passed away, she became friends with Jared, and Jared was like her best friend. He goes away for a summer to be with his father, comes back, and it's freshman year in high school, and he starts treating Tate horribly. He starts bullying her. Every time that she would get a date or a guy that was interested in her, they would back out. They would stand her up. She didn't know what was going on. Nasty rumors were spread about her. So she has had a horrible time in high school. She is leaving for France as a foreign exchange student. She is happy to be there for her whole junior year, to be away from Jared. And she's so sad about everything because she's like, we used to be friends. He was my best friend. What happened? Whenever she comes back her senior year, she's like, enough is enough and I'm fighting back. It is kind of their romance. I enjoyed this story for the most part because it took nearly 200 pages of a 320 page book to get to the romance. So there was character development. There was a lot of banter and a lot of things that Tate was working through emotionally. So I was very happy that it wasn't very insta-lusty like a lot of books can be. The story wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't like this is life-changing, but it was a good novel. I enjoyed everything about it. I enjoyed the progression of Jared and even Tate and how they matured over time in this. So if you definitely like the high school bullying romances, you would probably end up loving this a lot more than I did. I just feel like I'm a little too old for that at this point. All right, everyone, those are all of the books that I read in May. It was a wild month, to say the least. I was so excited that I was able to get through my entire May TBR. I'm excited to see where June is going to take me, and hopefully I can get to more books, and that's just on my list, but we shall see. Let me know in the comments below, have you read any of these books, or will you be picking up any of these books after hearing my thoughts on these? Just because I give a 2-star to a book doesn't mean that you won't love it. You may end up giving a 2-star book that I give a 5-star. Just give books a chance based on your reading tastes and what you like. And if you do not want to leave me a comment, but you do want to let me know that you were here, leave me a moon emoji for Draw Down the Moon by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. I love to hear your thoughts. I love to know that you're here, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!